thank Brother Stephen Muhammad for always thinking of us little civil rights workers. He never forgets us. Whenever he's in charge of an event, or whether he's traveling with Minister Louis Farrakhan, the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, Nation of Islam, he always looks out for us. So he told me a few months ago at the Malcolm X Festival in the West End, he said, when the Auburn Fest comes up, I want you to come and speak to give the audience a little bit of the history of Auburn Avenue and the civil rights movement. So I'm going to be very brief because I know you'd rather hear the entertainment, right? Oh, yes, you do. I'm going to be quick, not going to take much time, but I want to recognize my cousin, Loretta Brooks Swain, who's also a businesswoman in this corridor. Loretta Brooks Swain, just come up here and let them wave at him because she's right up the street on Edgewood and Crow. That's my cousin. She's a Brooks and a Swain. She was born in the country like I was. But let me just give you a little tidbit of history. You are in the neighborhood of one of the greatest leaders that ever walked the planet Earth. A man who was the most hated man in America while he lived. Now, who is that man?
Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King.
All right, you smart young lady. She says, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., the most hated man in America while he lived. He is my hero. I'm his disciple. I'm one of those disciples that was raised up in his organization, which is right on the corner of Auburn and this street. Right on the corner of Hilliard and Auburn, right there. So you're in the midst of history. Martin Luther King Jr. was born on Auburn Avenue. He went to David T. Howard School over here, which is right behind us. Then he went over to Washington High School on the west side.
Yeah.
But let me just give you a little bit of history, and then you can get back to your fun and your entertainment. I just want to say to those who are speaking, we do have little babies in the crowd. We have little children, so cut the profanity, please. I mean, you might throw some apples and oranges and eggs at me, but we got little babies out here, so let's clean it up a little bit. Let me just say to you that I grew up in SCLC under the leadership of Reverend Hosea Williams, who was Dr. King's field general. Hosea raised me and other children up like these little children you see over here. We were raised up by Hosea Williams, and we became a part of the field staff, the ground crew. Dr. King called us his ground crew. I met Dr. King when I was 15, but I met Hosea when I was 13. Not in Atlanta, but down in the country of Warrenton, Georgia, where Dr. King and Abernathy and others were headed to Charleston, South Carolina. So I grew up in it. It's a part of my DNA. As Dr. Joseph Eccles Lowry would say, it's in my DNA. So everything about me is about King's movement. One of the things I want to tell you, and I'll be through. 12 days before Dr. King's assassination, I was in a meeting with him, Abernathy, Willie Bolin, Terry Randolph, and others in Macon, Georgia at New Zion Missionary Baptist Church on Burton Avenue. If anybody from Macon, Georgia is in the crowd, you know where Burton Avenue is in Macon. New Zion Baptist Church is still there. We were in that meeting. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. made a pledge to the undertaker who had buried 5 black people who had been lynched in Monroe, Georgia on the Moores Ford Bridge. 4 of them were able to vote. One of them was carrying a baby. She was 7 months pregnant. Her name was Miss Dorothy Malcolm. The Ku Klux Klan not only lynched the Malcolms and Dorsey's, but they cut the baby out of Miss Dorothy Malcolm's womb. So that is recorded in our history. That is a fact in our history books. But Dr. King made a pledge. He said when he and Ralph David Abernathy finished helping the sanitation workers in Memphis, Tennessee, they were going to leave Memphis and come to Monroe, Georgia. Monroe is in metro Atlanta. It's right below Conyers as you're driving to Athens. It's not a long way out. Dr. King said, I'm coming, Dan, to help you with that case. In the meantime, Hosea Williams got assigned some staff. So Hosea Williams chose Willie Bolin and me. to be on the ground in Monroe, to wait on King and Abernathy. They come out of Memphis on this small Learjet owned by the United Automobile Workers Union. We were not in Memphis on the day Dr. King was assassinated. We were in Monroe, waiting on King and Abernathy. But we went to Memphis that night. So today, as we gather here in Martin Luther King Jr.'s neighborhood, I want to invite you to come to the place that he was headed on April 5th, 1968.
Yeah.
Monroe, Georgia. April 6th of next year, 10 a.m. in the morning, we will be at First African Baptist Church to honor the legacy of Dr. King and to march on the Moores Ford Bridge, demanding justice of those who were lynched because they dared to vote in 1946. They were lynched, they were killed because they dared to vote. White Dixiecrat Democrats led the charge to lynch them. So we're still carrying on that movement. It's on my shoulders now.
I said I was gonna do what?
It's on my shoulders to carry it forward. We have a great team of people working all across America. We go every year. So April 6th, put it on your phones, put it in your calendars, put it in your little brain box. April 6th, 10 a.m., Monroe, Georgia. First African Baptist Church to help us honor the band whose neighborhood you're having a great time in this weekend. April 6th of next year. If you want more information, Facebook page, Moores Ford Movement. Facebook page, Moores Ford Movement. That's M-O-O-R-E-S F-O-R-D Movement. M-O-V-E-M-E-N-T. Thank you very much. God bless you. Have fun, but respect our children, as my grandmama would say. Our children,